Hey guys, how's it going? Ty here to record some video tutorials for you. I made this video. I'm going to be covering cat rigging, and this will be my third time making this video because I've just ran into a lot of different errors along the way and different things that we need to do when we're creating our animations to make the process go smooth. So I learned a lot, and I think this video will teach you a lot too about how we're going to create animations for Unity. And this cat rigging, what I'm going to be doing today, is kind of like, it's like kind of pre-made animations mixed with just kind of an easy way to animate your character and to set up rigs that are really kind of made for the type of character that you're making. So I find it pretty useful, and I think you will too. So let's jump into it. The first thing I want to say is that one thing I noticed with our models is we need to do this step, which is called Xform, as you can see up here. And what Xform is when we bring a model into 3ds Max and say we take it and we scale it up. Well, what that's saying is it's not saying that this is the new scale. It's saying take the original scale plus whatever percentage. And if we don't do this Xform on our models, then we end up getting distortion in the future. So what's good practice for us, every time that we bring a model into 3ds Max, we position everything where we want it to be, and then after that is we add an Xform modifier. And the way that's added is if you go to Utilities, you click on your editable mesh, helps if it's collapsed. Go to Utilities, there's the Reset Xform, click on that, and then say Reset Selected. And then you'll see that it has this little like orange box around it. That means that the Xform is in place and working. So another thing I noticed is a good way to test if if your mesh is okay is if you go to export, and then I just have like an FBX file that I continually save over just to test. And if I go save, overwrite it, yada yada yada, and I didn't get any error messages. That's because I have this Xform on there. If I do get an error message, it's going to say something like non-orthogonal support, sounds like a different language or something, that it'll say for each one of your meshes that does not have this Xform on it. And even sometimes if it has the Xform, it'll give you that message, in which case you need to collapse it in the stack and then add an Xform again to get rid of it. But it's just good practice. I've seen a lot of videos online that really strongly recommend using this, so I think we should as well. Alright, so now on to cat rigging. So now that I have my character, I'm going to build a cat rig from scratch. There's a couple ways to do this. One is if you go to this panel, click on Helpers, go down to here, click on Cat Objects, and then we do Cat Parent. They already have a bunch of pre-made rigs for you, which you can create just by clicking and dragging, and it's important that you want to get to the scale that you have. You can create it. Like one way I've done it is by is my computer frozen? My mouse just isn't working for some reason. That's not good. Sorry, my mouse wasn't working. Okay. Where was I? So yeah, you can either create it like this. You can create a base human rig, and then you can work backwards and fit it to your model. I actually find it's easier to just create it from scratch. But they have a lot of base rigs that you can use. You can, like for example, they have dragons, for God's sakes. Like, that's pretty cool. And you can add pre-made animations to this dragon and even alter them how you want. But I'm going to teach you first how to create a cat rig from scratch if we really want to make it so it fits our character specifically. So what I'm going to do is in this cat rig area, I'm just going to go to None. I like to put on my snap, and then I have my grid, I should have my grid point selected. And now I'm going to go here, and then I'm just going to click and drag. That will make this little arrow guy, which is basically used to control the entire bone structure. So you can move that, and it'll just move the all the bones. And it's important that we also come up with a good naming convention, because all our bones and stuff that we do in 3ds Max will also be apparent in Unity and will have the same name. So it'll just be easier if we just come up with a common naming convention. I usually name this base one the name of the entire model itself, so in this case I'm going to choose Archer. Then after that, we are going to click on Create Pelvis right here. And you can see it puts a little block where it thinks the pelvis should be about. But we can just go ahead and move that into the correct position. And I've also been just kind of matching the width up. I've been changing the width to about 5, just to match it with the slenderness of our character. And then I'm just going to name that pelvis bone. So we got a pelvis bone, and then after that, it's pretty cool, we can click add leg. That does is it automatically adds a leg for us. Like so. I will note that I'm also adding in all the bones to match Unity's humanoid bone structure. And what that means is Unity just kind of has this, I guess, notion on what bones should be present. And so it says to include things like a foot bone and etc., even though we technically don't need a foot bone for our model. But I'm just kind of going after what Unity, I think, thinks we should do with the bone structure. We may not need a foot in the future, but I'll let you know. I'm planning on creating a Unity tutorial right after this one. And actually, one thing I forgot to mention before you start all this, it's good to what I do is I take the character, then I hit Alt-X, which makes her transparent, and then I do a free selection. And this makes it so I can click anywhere and I won't select her, but I can select my rig instead. So what I'm doing now is I'm just matching everything as closely as I can to the pivot points of the body shape. So you can see right here, it's kind of hard to see, but you can see the leg right there, and I know my pivot point's up there, so I want to match my bone to go as close to that pivot point as possible. And that should be okay. I'm going to move it a little bit forward like that. And that should be okay too, but let's just move this a little bit right there. And then I'm going to name it. I've been naming it like this. I'm going to make the left foot, so L, foot bone. I'm going to capital B. This will be my left leg bone, and this will be my left thigh bone. Now the cool thing about this is once we've created, and actually I'm going to make that a little bit different color real quick. Let's make it blue. And actually it's still a little bit thick, so I'm going to change that to 5, this to 5. That to 5. Let's move that a little bit over. That should be pretty good. Alright, so now once I have that, then I can click here and I can click add leg again, And the cool thing about that is what it does is it makes a leg that is exactly the same as the leg I just created, as you can see. So you don't have to go in and just create another leg. It just remembers what you did for that leg and it recreates it. So again, I'm going to move this to where my right leg pivot would be, like so. And then I'm going to take this IK chain right here, move it into place. Yep. And it actually looks like my IK is possibly facing the wrong way. How's this one doing? That one's right. Alright, well I just rotated that around and hopefully that won't give us any problems in the future. Alright, so that should be okay, but I'm going to name it real quick. Feel free to skip ahead. You don't want to watch me naming this. So that's going to be our right thigh bone. Left leg. Right leg. Left foot. Right foot. It's also good to name the IK too, so it's easier to find. Left leg IK. And right leg IK. Alright, so the next step is we're going to click on our pelvis bone, and we have this option to add spine, and that's what we're going to do next. We're going to add a spine. As you can see, it adds like a bunch of different spine points, but for this character we really only need one spine point because we don't have the deformation of the mesh in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I click on any bone here in the middle, and it says bones 5, but I'm going to go ahead and change that to 1. Name it my spine bone. Change the width again. And I'm going to change the height of this too. As you can see right now, it's supposed to be about right there. Because this is more of our, I'm going to call it torso bone. And let's go ahead and change the width of that as well. And now that should be okay. Now from here, when we have this one, what I'm calling the torso bone, we can then just add an arm, like we added the leg, and then it'll add an arm for us right here. And again, I'm going to keep the hands on there. Also for the IK, which we can add earlier, it doesn't initially add an IK to the arm, but we can do that later.